to the Gaming Discourse. I am Tyler Frater alongside Richard De La Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Hello.
It is April 1st, 2021. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube/Gaming Discourse. We post videos. Go check out the Alien Isolation video that I posted a couple weeks ago about Alien Isolation, about VR. I thought it was fantastic. So everyone else is going to think it's fantastic, obviously. So go check that out. Today's April 1st. I don't think we have any pranks. Do we have any pranks to pull? No? Okay.
I have deceased.
Connor has passed away. Prank. Gotcha. Do I have something to... No, I don't think... No, I thought I had something to address, but I guess I don't. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, we're pushing forward. Connor.
Yes.
What have you been playing recently? Let's start with you.
All right. I've been playing a lot of Civilization, some Divinity, and a new little indie puzzle game, I guess. Puzzle, casual, tile laying game called Dorf Romantic. Picked it up on the what was it called? The Digital Indie Convention on Steam.
Yes.
So I've been playing a lot of Civ 6 on twitch.com/Coco does a stream, Twitch in the description.
There you go.
Hey, yeah. Gotta get it in there somewhere. But yeah, that game, it's just always fun. Not much to say about that anymore than I already have. Divinity, Tyler, you and I have been playing that, and I have a little bit more experience in it than you, and so I'm watching you relearn things and discover things and
it's painful
try new
at
things
times.
out. It's very. And then Dorf Romantic, it is the game that I've wanted to talk about since I picked it up. I've been waiting for this podcast to talk about this game because it is fantastic. It is super zen. It is the only video game that has made me utter the phrase, "Hell yeah, we got trains." And I don't think any video game will ever make me say that again. And it wasn't like, "Hell yeah," I was like, "Hell yeah, we got trains." Because you get these tiles and they have little features on them: grasslands, trees, buildings, railroad tracks, or a train on the railroad tracks, boats and water, stuff like that. And you just build out this map trying to match up like sides of these hexagonal tiles to score points. And it's really fun because you just start building out this map and you're like, oh, I have this giant forest over here and I can cap it off here, start a city. I have like this large waterway. I can turn that into, if I get enough water tiles, I can turn that into like a giant lake or something. And it just, these branching tiles that just eat up time. I've spent so many hours playing it. It is really good. I recommend it. It's $10 on Steam right now. Go pick it up. It's super fun.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool. It reminds me of Carcassonne.
Yes,
the board game?
It is a lot like Carcassonne.
Yeah, so you just kind of slot things together and they work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else, Connor?
No, that's really been it.
Richard, how's that PS5 going? You're in the next gen, dude. You got a series.
I'm in the next gen, and I'm still not used to it.
Future's now, old man.
So I will talk about a game I'm playing, but since I don't have a whole ton to say about it, I will talk a little bit about the PS5. I'm not the biggest fan of its interface because it's actually a little less intuitive than the PS4 interface. In the smallest ways, for me, the most important ways, because on the PS4, if I'm on any menu, or even during a game, if I press and hold the PS button, the PlayStation button, I will get a sub menu that pops up, and from there it has a selection of important things to, like my sound, my party. Do I want to turn off my console? Do I want to access Do I want to close the game? Do I want to access something else? On the PS5, if I press the PS button, the game continues in the background, but like a sub bar comes up from the bottom. And from there, you can access those activity cards that they talk about. And then you get another little bar at the bottom. It's kind of like the cross-media bar. And you can customize it to put whatever you want there. And they have... what do I have on there? They have a little house for you to go home. They have the little square of the title of the game you're playing. And then you can customize it with whatever you want. I have, like, my friends list, which is weird. I'll get to that. I forgot what else I have on there because I don't use them, so they're not important. But if you press and hold the PS button, nothing happens. There's no like sub menu. There's no like, hey, do you want to turn off your system? There's none of it. So I have to press the PS button, go to the little home, click that, and then it goes to my main menu of the PS5. And then I have to press the PS button again where the sub menu comes up. And I have to go down to the power and then turn it off there, which I find is way too many steps, in my opinion. So just small things like that. Like I don't even know how to access I've saved so many videos already of my gameplay, and I don't know how to access them. Like there's a little app on the PS4 that's like your capture gallery, and I can't find that on the PS5. And the only way I can access that is if I press the share button, and then the share menu pops up, and then I click the last thing that I saved, and then from that video I go and go to my media, and that's how the only way I found out how to get there. So there are strange things about it, but I kind of just chalk it up to something I have to get used to now, not necessarily something that's bad, I guess, but at the moment it's bad because it's different. And different is bad because I'm old.
Well, I mean, that makes me curious because holding down the controller's center button to bring up a sort of centralized menu has been a thing since the 360.
Since Xbox 360, yeah.
And I don't remember the DualShock 3 didn't have a center button, right? I don't think so. It did.
It did. That's when I introduced it. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember.
And if you held that, a black screen came up with like quick game, turn off, controller, turn off, power.
So we've got more than 10 years of muscle memory that you hold down the center button, and that's the menu that you get. I'll have it's one of those things where I'll reserve judgment until I try it out. But why change that? Because it works. It's not like I've always said, "Oh God, Microsoft, Sony, they need to." That's always worked.
Yeah.
And there doesn't. It seemed like it's redesigning, it's reinventing the wheel, is what it sounds like. And you're not the only person. Paul Tassi of Forbes wrote about how he's probably going to play most of his games, third-party games, on the Xbox than on the PS5 solely because of the PS5's UI. He said he just doesn't like the UI, doesn't like how things work, and the Xbox apparently is just more intuitive and just makes more sense. Which I find crazy because the Xbox One's dashboard is just
awful.
It's insane. It's Guernica, Pablo Picasso. It's just everywhere. And the PS4 was great, always great. I love the PS4.
Yeah, I do too.
So it's interesting that I'm hearing this from multiple people.
And it's like when I go to my friends, there's the little friends icon. When you go to friends and you click it, your friends don't pop up first. Your previous interactions pop up. So if I was in a party with someone, or if I did a message with people, those are what pop up first for the first 4 selections. You don't even see your friends until you go past that, and then your friends list shows. And I think that's weird because I want to access my friends. I don't want to access those guys. As far as I'm aware, I can't find my trophies unless I select my game, and then another sub menu pops up of the game, it tells you the game information and stuff, and then you go to the trophies. There's no trophy icon anymore to just access your trophies, which it's kind of like a 50-50 thing because like I was playing Astro's Playroom and I was trying to hunt down all the trophies. So when I got one trophy done, if the notification went away and I wasn't quick enough, and I pressed the center hub button, I would have to like then go to that game's icon, click on that game icon, so it brings up another menu of the game, and then I would have to scroll down to like go select trophies. So it's just a tiny bit more cumbersome. Like honestly, like if you get used to it, it's probably not bad, but it's just that learning pangs. That's it. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So moving past that, I have been playing, and I really don't like to announce when I want to try to like do a review on something because that makes me not do it. Like I don't know if you've ever had that. Like if you tell somebody that you want to do something, you just never do it. But
because then it becomes work. Because like if you're playing
so.
it to enjoy something, you don't have to like you're taking it in, but you don't have to refine it. But as soon as you say, I'm going to review this, it's like, now I need to take notes. Now I need to remember things. I'm going to have to remember to write this. And then you start thinking to yourself how you're going to write it. This is all anxiety that I have all the time. So, yes, you're 100% correct.
So I started playing the Pathless on PS5 because I thought it was one of the coolest looking launch games for the system. Even though it's available on PS4, it's available on PC. For the PS5, it was something that I was interested in. And this game is from the creators of Abzu, that like water diving game, very aesthetic looking. This one is kind of more, I don't want to say, I guess it is style over substance, but they complement each other in really good ways. The game is very gorgeous. I want to compare it to Shadow of the Colossus and Zelda, but it's more Shadow of the Colossus than it is Zelda because you have a lot of places to explore and a lot of places to look at, but it's very empty in the most hauntingly beautiful way possible. Like there's nothing around except for nature, ruins, skeletons, and stuff like that. But traversing it and searching for all these things is really, really, really beautiful. The game is very simplistic in nature as far as your control scheme and attacking. I mean, I think there's only like 3 buttons you use, including the analog stick. So it's like analog, shooting with your bow and arrow, and then jumping. There are points of very intense action, which once again brings up the Shadow of the Colossus comparison because you're fighting these large beasts, and it gets very intense and very action oriented, and those are the moments that I look forward to when I'm performing the actions of just this like tranquility in between. It's very good, but it's very also I can't suggest it to just anybody to play because it's definitely seems like more an artistic endeavor than anything. But it seems like I forgot the name of the developer, unfortunately, but it seems like that's what they do best because that's exactly what Abzu was. As far as I know, I haven't played it yet, but they're giving it away for free on PlayStation 4, so I'll probably give it a shot now. But so far, I'm greatly enjoying it. I don't know how far I am. I think there's 4 beasts, and I've defeated 1 already, so I need to get the other ones, but there's other tasks to do in between. So I think I will write something on it, make a video, and now I have work to do.
There you go. There you go. You've doomed yourself, my friend.
Indeed.
Anything else, good sir?
No, I'm good.
So yeah, Divinity, been playing more of Witcher, still going through Witcher bit by bit whenever I have some time. It's great. It's wonderful. Actually, you forget how good all of these characters are. Dijkstra specifically, he's the former head of Redanian intelligence, and he has a falling out or leaves the Redanian court and is now one of the mob bosses in Novigrad, and he wants to assassinate Radovid, who is the king of Redania, and that's the 2 kings in The Witcher 3. Radovid and Emir are sort of battling it out for dominance over the area because the other kings have died, and those are like the two dominant kingdoms, and so whoever wins is going to be sort of the ruler of the entire region. But anyway, so Dijkstra used to work for Radovid, or used to work for Redania, doesn't anymore, and wants to go out and now wants to kill Radovid. And, you know, Dijkstra and Geralt don't trust each other. There's some great dialogue. They're always really sarcastic and curt with one another. But there's this great scene where Dijkstra's sort of spy, his tough guy, keeping his cards close to his chest exterior, he sort of lets that down for a second, and he talks about how he dislikes how Radovid has turned Redania into a xenophobic kingdom, because in The Witcher 3, Redania is burning mages, and they treat non-humans like elves and dwarves and different creatures, different sentient creatures. They treat them with hostility. So Dijkstra doesn't like this because Dijkstra served under Radovid's father, and he has this great line where he talks about how they reformed society and how he thinks that it was a more just society, and that they had the courts working, and that people had just a better way of life. But now Radovid's taking over, and so there's people being burned at the stake and stuff like that. So anyway, what I'm trying to get to is it's so great because this character, when you first meet him, is a mob boss who used to be a spy, so there's all kinds of red flags around him. But as you further get to know him, you see that he has a moral center, and that's such a cool little character arc for a character who's a side character. And it puts Geralt in an interesting position because Witchers are supposed to be neutral, right, when it comes to affairs of state. Like, they can't take sides. And this puts Geralt in a weird position because he's being sent by Emir to find Ciri. So he's doing a quest for one of the two big political players, and now he's being asked to help kill Radovid. But Radovid is objectively a terrible person. Really, both it's medieval, so both kingdoms are bad in one way or the other. Yeah. But it's like America versus Nazi bad in World War II. Like, America was fucked up. It weren't the Nazis, right? So Radovid is straight up Hitler. He's horrible, right? And you know, you have to. You didn't think you'd get a historical comparison of The Witcher 3 and World War II. Well, guess what? Neither did I, and here we are.
I just keep going. Yeah, it's all good.
But anyway, so yeah, really great, and you know, we'll talk about it more later. The other, and then Divinity, which, I need to just learn how to play Divinity. Richard, have you played Divinity?
No, God, I that and Pillars of Eternity. I'm like, man, I would really love to play those, but so I know that's a lot of devotion. No, not of my time.
It is. Divinity's a very slow game. Even the combat's slow. Everything is very slow because it's really meticulous, and that's what makes it tough to learn. Because it's really dynamic, really open-ended, and like if you're standing in a puddle or in a puddle of blood and you cast an electricity spell, you'll shock yourself because you're in a liquid, right? So you have to keep all these things in mind. Mm-hmm. But it's even like more complex than that because there's all these elemental factors that change the way spells work and stuff like that. You have a ton of different spells, and there's a ton of different abilities depending on what your class is, if you're more of a melee class or like a magic wielding class or whatever. So there's all kinds of dynamics to play with. And on top of all of that, there's all kinds of different ways to take the story and who to talk to and where to go. So you start off on an island called, what is it called?
Well, you start off in Fort Joy.
Fort Joy, yeah, not an island. I don't remember where it is, but
it's on an island, but specifically there.
You're in jail. You're a prisoner, wrongfully imprisoned, right, on this place called Fort Joy. And there's like a billion ways to escape Fort Joy. Some of which you can do just by sort of sneaking out a door if you can find it, right? So, and then there are other ways of escaping Fort Joy where it's like a story and you fight a bunch of people. So it's insane how open-ended the design is, and it's the very beginning of the game. And I don't think I've ever escaped Fort Joy the same way, and this is my third or fourth time getting through it. But anyway, yeah, Divinity is really intensive, and it takes it is a slow game, so it takes a lot of time. And also, like, it takes time to learn because you have to know how you want to build your character, because there's all kinds of points and all kinds of things to spec into. It's similar to Pillars of Eternity, but different in a lot of ways too. But yeah, like, I'm having a lot of fun, but it is a very slow, very methodically, deliberately paced game. that really there aren't too many games like that like like you're like, man, I can't wait to get to the combat. All this dialogue's great, but the combat's where things are at. You get to combat and you're just scrolling through your through your spells like, this one, what's his magic armor at? I don't know. Like, and you're right back to the same pace. Anyway, is there anything else we would like to say before we move on?
No, sir.
No.
We want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this episode. They have been silently supporting us since the beginning, and we felt it was time to give them some love. The like and share buttons have been at our side since episode 1 of the podcast. They can be found right beneath this episode. Please give them a click, it helps us greatly. If you are feeling lucky, click the bell icon to enter for a notification anytime we post new content. You may be surprised by what you get.
YouTube has a creepy Minecraft problem. The story by Wired Cecilia D'Anastasio about disturbing Minecraft videos / thumbnails featured in Minecraft's YouTube topic page. So the topic page is like a specific page on YouTube where you find not curated, but algorithmically, that's a word, collected videos of a single topic, right? So I don't know, if it's Foo Fighters, it's going to be all these videos about the Foo Fighters, or about Foo Fighters. But if it's about a specific game like Minecraft, you're going to have all these videos that have to do with Minecraft one way or the other. So reading straight from the story, quote, thumbnails found on the Minecraft topic page include an avatar with heart eyes and a bloody knife smiling at a chained up woman in a bikini, a mother and father holding sticks up to a crying toddler, and a woman pregnant with feces about to sit on a man. The live videos loop for hours on end, some racking up tens of thousands of total views. Some of these channels receive tens of thousands of views a day. On Monday, the first thumbnail under that section depicted a drooling, heart-eyed police officer in large-breasted avatar with pink panties cast to the side. Like other Minecraft grotesqueries, the thumbnail is the most shocking thing about it. Innuendo and violence are only minorly featured in the animation. Wired shared a few of the videos / thumbnails that it found with YouTube, which YouTube removed, and said, quote, since ElsaGate, which I guess I'll talk about here in a second, quote, since ElsaGate, we've heavily invested in the systems and policies that enable us to quickly remove violative content. Because YouTube has never been for people under 13, we created YouTube Kids in 2015 and recently announced a supervised account option for parents who have decided their tweens or teens are ready to explore YouTube, end quote. So this is another one of those, Connor, what's the word? Cursory? Curse? You corrected me last. Thank you. You corrected me last week. It's sort of about gaming, but sort of not about gaming. But I wanted to talk about it anyway because I find it fascinating, and I'm always up for complaining and bashing on YouTube, which is sort of an evergreen topic. But so I have a few ways to take this. But if you guys have a thought off the top of your head, please share it before we go anywhere.
The only thought that comes to my head, right? So you know what? No, we had a discussion about this before the podcast. I'm not going to say anything.
All right. So here's
Hold on, real quick. YouTube and Minecraft have always had this weird relationship. I remember years ago, well before this podcast started, our nephew Tyler, was terrified about this specific thing in Minecraft that he saw on YouTube that was just on YouTube. And it was like there was like this lore and everything about it was the creators soul of his undead brother, haunting the game. Yeah, stupid shit like that. And it's always had this. The YouTube and Minecraft have always had this weird relationship, and I'm not even gonna get into the personality like YouTuber side of anything, but just the content being put out. There's always this strange other like the other side of Minecraft, or not Minecraft, other side of YouTube, which people don't talk about, kind of thing. They've always had this weird symbiotic relationship.
So the YouTube referenced ElsaGate, right? Which, if you don't remember, in 2017, ElsaGate was this phenomenon where essentially you had really bad animations that were amalgamations of search engine optimized characters like Spider-Man and Elsa doing a lot of random things, and they existed purely to fill like the title of the video with literally dozens of words that were just meant for the search engine,
hit the algorithm,
for the algorithm just to pump out, right? And so the YouTube algorithm was taken advantage of, and it was prime real estate, Tim Heidecker, because you had the audience that these channels were going for were passive audiences, right? It was like 4-year-old kids, and they're just they're just watching it, right? So they have no idea what's going on anyway. And then if you're not moderating it as a parent, then these things just continue to cycle. And so a video that triggers the algorithm that's search engine optimized is going to trigger another one, right, by that same quote unquote channel, and that's how you sort of corner the market in a sense of stuff. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's what happened in ElsaGate. It's more complicated than that, and it has to do with AI and stuff, and a lot of things that I don't understand myself. But anyway, so I think this is similar in a way. But I don't know. I'm not saying that these videos are generated in the same way. I have no idea why the thumbnails are like sexual and violent. It's very strange.
Morbid curiosity.
Yeah,
that might be it. But if we're talking
shock
about
factor.
But if we're talking about kids, like, does that garner attention among kids? I guess I don't know. And maybe we're barking up the wrong tree here.
I mean, I don't think so. I think you hit. There's some merit to what you say, because that is the thing. I'm going to get into this just because it does relate to games in some way. In the American culture, compared to the rest of the world, has it reversed, whereas we generally glorify violence, particularly, and parents, and this has been going on since the mid-2000s, since I worked at GameStop. Parents don't give any crap about how violent the game is, but as soon as is there any sort of sexual content, they immediately like shut it down for their kids. Like I would work at GameStop, and when we had to start telling people, hey, this is rated mature, has all this stuff in it, the parents would either do one of two things. They would roll their eyes and nod their head because they didn't care, or their next question was, well, as long as it doesn't have sex in it. And it's like, oh, okay, well, and this is just me here, one day that your kid is going to have sex one day. Like there's no like, that's not going to happen. But are they going to kill somebody someday? Like that seems very reversed to me. Whereas the rest of the world, it's the violence that they no, we can't. Like, look at Australia, Jesus Christ, Germany, Japan. Like the violence is heavily censored. Sex is not really a big deal. But so in America, like that concept becomes taboo, and it's like if the kids like can't see it, kids are going to want to see things that they're not supposed to see.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, for the psychology behind it.
Yeah, and that's why those Elsa videos were so weird and borderline sexual because of that.
And it didn't help that people saw that, so you had people already making videos that took advantage of the trend, and sort of made live action versions and crap like that. It was a gigantic phenomenon. And I think it's crazy that YouTube references. It's like Nixon calling Watergate Watergate. It's like, what? Like, you made this happen. It feels weird for you to say the phrase, which I'm sure he did at some point, but still, anyway. So that's the psychology behind it to the side. I think I do in some... So I always harbor a little bit of sympathy toward YouTube, kind of, because it must be difficult to moderate this, especially when it seems like there's just millions of people trying to figure out how to take advantage of your systems.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, YouTube doesn't care, for one, or two, they could do a lot better in moderation, but they don't. And so I acknowledge that there's a discussion between, or there is a discussion in, okay, I'm a father. I'm not a father. I'm just saying as an example. I'm a father. My kid has an iPad and he's watching YouTube. Is it my responsibility to moderate what he watches? Like, I think yes. I should understand what they're watching. And I should understand that YouTube is not for toddlers. But is YouTube doing everything they can to protect or make it as obvious as possible? I don't think so, right?
No.
So I think there's issues on both ends.
Very few social media sources or sites now have any adequate level of self-moderation.
Well,
like Facebook is laden with weird and outright racist or sexist groups. You have racist and sexist videos all over TikTok, and then the ones that are positive messages one get taken down, but the former stay up, and no company has figured out self-moderation yet.
And and I don't want to stray too far off what we're talking about here, because we could go from Minecraft to, like, it literally takes me less than 5 clicks to find a neo-Nazi on YouTube. Like, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And kind of what I'm getting towards. And some of them are on pretty popular channels by creators we won't talk about right now. But but it's like, how do you moderate all that, and where do you draw the line and stuff like that? And I have opinions on it, but I don't want to get into it because this is about Minecraft and stuff. So go ahead, Richard.
You can't, and they're not going to, because those parents are subconsciously paying YouTube to be their babysitters. That is literally what is happening.
I knew you were going to have that take, but you're not wrong.
But I'm not, and I'm not.
But I think it's interesting that, because Netflix has explicit stuff, right? Now there's also Netflix Kids, but you never hear stories, and I guess Netflix is curated, so it may not be a great comparison, but you don't hear stories about, like, kids browsing Netflix and, like, oh my god, my child watched, The Witcher and just had the orgy scene on repeat,
The kid just watched Witcher and now he wants to be Henry Cavill.
My kid just watched Witcher and he put necrophage oil on the blade instead of beast oil. What the hell is he doing? No. So getting back to this. I do think YouTube could do a lot better job here, and I think that's, if I were to focus my criticism, it would be there. Because I don't know if you can, I don't think you can expect a bajillion parents to all of a sudden decide, I should really try hard, as bad as that may sound. Because if YouTube makes certain changes, then they don't have to rely on a bajillion people to moderate themselves and better. And I don't know what ideologically that says about me, but I think just recently, I don't know if you guys follow the stuff that went with Jim Sterling, but Jim Sterling's channel, there was a couple attempts to try and take his channel down from what I would say, in my opinion, is bad faith use of the copyright strike. And it's like, this is something that YouTube should have systems in place to protect from, and doesn't. And so you get in situations where a creator that has a ton of followers and has a lot of resources gets to the point where their channel's about to be taken down, off of fraudulent copyright strikes. And it's just like ridiculous, you know? So yeah, YouTube could do a much better job in a lot of areas. This is one of them. And I'm sure in a year and a half, we'll have a similar instance where something like this is going down. And yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I have answers, but you know, I don't know how to fix. There's a lot of things in the world that I don't know how to fix, but I know that they need to be fixed. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Do we have anything else to say before we move on?
YouTube and, of course, the other social media platforms have a lot of work to do when it comes to moderation on their site. There needs to be something in place for any amount of moderation. With what happened with Jim Sterling, the algorithmic copyright strike system, it also really doesn't work. My band got copyright struck for our own music.
Yeah,
we posted.
And what makes the Jim Sterling case worse is it was not the automated system. It was somebody systematically abusing the system, knowing they could abuse the system to try and get down criticism, right? So whether or not you agree or disagree with the criticisms, I think it was quite obvious the criticism was within the realm of fair use and was completely reasonable. So it was YouTube. YouTube is a monopoly, and yet they don't manage things, I think, as best as they could. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's hard for me to say that, you know, the money that they make and moderation don't go hand in hand. Like, I think if you moderate things, then you're going to be reducing how much money you can make in certain areas, because that's going to hurt advertising in one way or the other. Anyway, are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
Richard, what's going on at Sony?
Yes, yeah. So, as first reported by The Gamer, website The Gamer, I think it's thegamer.com, right, or something like that?
Yeah.
Anyways, they made a report that Sony would be shutting down the PSP and PS3 storefronts on July 2nd, with the PS Vita store closing August 27th. Excuse me. This was picked up by a bunch of other outlets, but Sony did not confirm it until several days later. What this means is that you will not be able to make any more digital purchases for games or DLC on those platforms. You'll still be able to download games that you have purchased yourself, and promotional vouchers for games will still be accepted. You just can't purchase anything from the store. Like, it just won't exist, won't be there. They have done something similar already to the PSP. You can't, if I remember correctly, you cannot access the PSP store from the PSP itself. You'd have to go a roundabout way and buy the game on the PS3, download it from there, and then transfer it to your PSP. It's very cumbersome and annoying. But yes, this is I believe, the second time something like this has happened, with the Wii Virtual Console being the first a couple years back, or last year and a half ago. Last year has been a blur. But anyways, what do you guys think about Sony taking this step here?
So the thing that pops in my mind is game preservation, right? And that's a tricky subject, because, you know, I don't want to sit here and say, hey, just put these games on the PS4, because I have no idea what goes into making a PSP game, if at all possible, to run on other hardware, or how that works. You know, so I have no idea. So I acknowledge that stuff is probably difficult and is way harder than just, you know, flipping a switch to reference something else. But at the same time, it is an issue. It's an issue that a lot of people may not care about, because who cares about random PSP games? But it's just like, you know, you can still... I don't know of many other art forms that lose material as quickly and as often as gaming does, right? Like, you can still find copies of movies that were made in the 1920s and 30s, right? Like, and it's granted, it's easier. Like, again, technologically, I would assume it's easier to keep a movie alive than it is a game alive. But does that mean that we shouldn't try or figure out ways to do so? I don't think so. it's easier to keep a book alive. You can read books that are billions of years old, but all you have to do is just print the words out. It's not like you have to figure out how to code the words to fit onto a new type of paper or something. So without having deeper technical knowledge, I just can't speak to that. But at the same time, I think from the standpoint of, I think the principle of the matter is that we should figure this stuff out, because gaming's not that old. But Richard, as you know, because you're all into the sort of the collector scene when it comes to games that aren't published anymore or aren't made anymore, or were only published in certain countries or what have you, that a lot of the stuff flies off shelves and then disappears quite often, I think.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And this is tough because honestly, there's a lot of fear mongering going on, particularly about how prices of games will skyrocket because they're closing down the store, or you can't grab them, quote unquote, easily anymore. But there's a lot of angles to it, and we don't know what the future holds for them. I do know that there are a handful of exclusive only games that were released digitally, that once the store is gone, they will be gone for the greater public. I'm almost certain that they're already available by other means, through the internet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah, as an official release, like we're going to be losing things like the arcade versions of House of the Dead 3 and 4, or Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles. There's like an exclusive Loco Roco game, an exclusive Ape Escape game. There are some very interesting things out there that we won't see anymore because of this, and it is scary. It's great that we'll still be able to re-download them.
Yeah.
I think it would be a shame if we weren't able to, but then Sony would just become Konami at that point, because Konami's the only person who has ever done that with PT. Like, no one's ever done that before, like not let you play something that you downloaded, but Konami was the first one to do that. But this is very interesting because you get people out of the woodwork, and making a big fuss about them closing it. But for me, the truth of the matter is, I guess, looking someone outside looking in, is that if you cared about it in the first place, like, you would still be buying stuff from there. Like, why all of a sudden now with the announcement of it closing, it's like, I've always wanted to buy stuff from there. It's like, well, no, that's why they're closing it, because no one's buying stuff from there. And I'm sure that, they can't keep it around forever, but the flip side to it, or the solution, is to create something that will allow you to keep these things alive, at least from Sony's standpoint. But I don't foresee them doing that, because there is no way in hell you're going to get, I don't want to see these things on PlayStation Now. Like, you're getting a lot of PS1 classic games that you can get digitally. Yeah. That, a lot of PS2 games. There's a game, a lot of the PS1 classics on there are games like Parasite Eve, Dino Crisis, Suikoden 2 and 3 and 4. Like, a lot of those games, particularly Suikoden, is like $200 $200+ if you wanted to buy an actual copy of the game. But digitally, it's only $10. So you're going to be losing a game that you can get for $10 that costs $200 anywhere else. So I just don't want to. Yeah, the solution is not something like PlayStation Now, in my opinion. The solution is getting something. You had that idea a month or two ago, Tyler.
Are you talking
about? Well, no, I think it's great. Like, if they took just basically like
don't
that.
Patronize me.
Yes. No, I'm not patronizing. Well, yeah, if they were able to just recreate like the architecture that they had for the PS3, just re-release that. I mean, I would like to say the parts are cheaper now, but that's actually very false. At this point in time, that is very false. But yeah, Nintendo, like it says here on the notes, like Nintendo and Xbox has alternatives, and Xbox has done a really good job with keeping the old games alive. And and even to an extent, I mean, Steam and good old games, like
Yeah. Yep.
Steam doesn't go away. You know, this is the consequence of having generation cycles, and not something like PC to where, you know, there's PCs forever, and so is the GOG, you know, whereas Nintendo, yeah, shut down Wii Virtual Console. You can't get those games anymore, you know, and now PlayStation. So
The thing that I wanted to, when you referenced it just a second ago, is the other thing that I think is interesting here is Sony now does not have I don't think they have any sort of a mobile option or handheld option that can rival anything that Xbox or Nintendo does. Obviously, Nintendo's got like the best option there, but with xCloud, Xbox is going to be sort of I think trying to push into that realm where there's sort of there's an alternate handheld option, and Sony with Vita and the PSP used to, you know, like when Xbox wasn't doing that and Sony was, and now Sony doesn't really have that. You have to wonder if Sony doesn't see that as a realm that they're going to have to push into, because right as xCloud is going to launch and you're going to be able to play Halo on an iPad and stuff like that. PlayStation, I'm not sure if PlayStation Now is available on. I know it's available on desktop, but I don't know if it's available on like phones. I think it's available on phones.
I think so.
But
you just blew my mind though, man. Like I just never thought of that before. Microsoft has never had a handheld console because they never were interested in it. But now it doesn't matter because they have xCloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assuming xCloud works, like
it does. It works. It worked for me pretty well.
Of course. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is wild. Like they, I guess, struck when the iron was hot, I suppose.
Yeah.
or they just waited till the technology caught up. But that's wild. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else we'd like to say before we move on?
No, sir.
Amnesia Rebirth has added an adventure mode. The free update, adventure mode, doesn't take monsters out of the game, but they won't attack you. It also makes some environments brighter, removes the fear mechanic, and includes a few bonus puzzles. So in Amnesia Rebirth, which is a horror game, monsters will come after you and stuff. If you sit in the darkness too long, like your screen, there's like I'm not even sure how to describe it, like thorns that grow, and you have really creepy noises that start to play as your character loses composure, essentially. So that has been removed from the game's Steam, and with if you select the option. With the game's from the game's Steam announcement, quote, "With adventure mode, we hope that new players that have a hard time handling horror as a genre will get to experience Tazzie's story," as the main character, that they will get to immerse themselves in the character and the unforgiving environments of Rebirth as they fight for survival for themselves and those closest to them, end quote. Soma also has a mode like this. And I think there's a couple other horror games that do similar things where they try and sort of limit the scares. But anyway, I think this is brilliant. I love this for a lot of different reasons. One, from a practical standpoint, I love horror. I love sneaking from monsters and stuff like that. But like, when I played through Alien Isolation recently, and after I had gotten through to the point where I could backtrack and stuff, I just didn't want to deal with the xenomorph anymore. Like it reached that point where it wasn't scary, it was just annoying and it wasn't fun, right? So I turned the game down to the easiest difficulty and tried to like backtrack and find the
xenomorph. Stop it.
Exactly. Find like the text logs and stuff like that. And so I think more games that do this, the better. I don't think games have to do this. Like, so if Creative Assembly was like, "Hey, Tyler, you're dumb. We're not going to do that because that's not the vision of the game that we have," I'd respect that. But I think this is brilliant, and I think the more horror games that do this, the better. If it's something that the developer believes in and wants to do, that's great. And if it means more people can play it, like, I don't have a problem with it. And if it sounds like I'm defending something that is obviously okay, it's because I know out there somewhere there are people that hate this because some nebulous idea of like oh, you gotta play the game this way or else you're not playing it right or something. And I know that's a huge straw man, but that exists because if we talk about difficulty, it's the same exact thing, and that crowd comes out of the woodwork, and all of a sudden it's, you know, a huge fight. But I think this is similar.
Here's the thing, to simmer that down. If the developer releases a way of playing the game, that's one way of playing the game.
This is true. This is true.
Also, it's like I'm very much in that vein of like, whatever the person who made it said, that's the way it is. So, well, you just exactly like you said, Connor. Like, if they released it, you can do it that way. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, it comes down to that conversation of accessibility, and I think it goes not only hand in hand with accessibility, but creativity as well. Particularly like horror games. I think horror games have some of the most creative environments, monsters. It really fosters creativity, and I think that something like this in adventure mode is perfect for like budding artists who may want to like improve their craft or maybe get more ideas, because in a horror game, like, you're really focused on like running and like, you know, trying to figure out what to do next, rather than like how good the environment may look or how good like enemies may look. So this would give chances for those to kind of explore the game and maybe, you know, like I said, check out the details on things and try to get more ideas from a creative standpoint than just someone, you know, having to be restricted to just playing a horror game.
Yeah. So. Last of Us 2 did this as well, right? Last of Us 2 had all those accessibility options, which I think are great.
Yeah.
Like, I think more games that do that, the better. It's one of those discussions that I'm fine with having. Like, I'm open to having my mind changed, right? But where I stand now is, you know, when the next From Software game comes out and there's one way to play it, and that's, you know, like, that's something that they believe in, and I don't think you can tell them that they shouldn't do that or they should do it some other way. But I'm also totally open, and the idea that, like, or even like, if you're able to mod a game to make it different, that's fine too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, my annoyance and my confrontationalness or whatever, my volatility here is completely based in the knowledge that I know there are crowds out there that have problems with this stuff, and there's no good reason to have a problem with it. And so I'm arguing with someone who exists in the abstract right now. But we all know they exist. They're out there somewhere, but I'm not going to go on Twitter. So anyway, are we good here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Anything else we'd like to talk about?
I actually, you know what? I overlooked something. I do have one tidbit that I wrote down that I didn't.
Got a tidbit. All right, cool.
There's originally no tidbits, but this one's a kind of fun one. The infamous cargo ship Ever Given can now be seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh, really?
I saw that.
So yeah, you can see it right there. You know, trying as it might to get out of there.
You know what? I'm not gonna ask any questions because I don't know.
It's fine now. Everything's back to normal.
Okay, we're fine. We're all fine here now. How are you?
we just lost billions of dollars in revenue, you know, for the entire world. But you know, we're good.
Okay. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Gaming Discourse. Go to our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Gaming Discourse. We post videos. Go check out the Alien Isolation video I made. Go like and subscribe and hit the bell icon, all that fun stuff. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.